Hello, imaginary friends. How have you been? 'Tis the Halloween season, which means costume party. If you're listening to the audio version of this, I am dressed from head to toe as Toph Beifong from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And Blushy, what are you dressed as?
Mustache.
Like a person with a mustache?
Exactly.
So like Freddie Mercury, Ned Flanders, Luigi.
Oh, no. Just mustache. Like, I'm a mustache.
Oh, like the mustache itself?
Yeah?
Blushy, did you forget that we were meant to dress up today?
Maybe?
It's okay, Blushy, it's okay. I actually spent 2 hours trying to get in my contacts so I could like be fully Toph. And I had a panic attack. I had multiple panic attacks. I pretty much lost my eyesight for like a good 2 minutes. Spent 3 hours just trying to like put on one contacts. The other one fell. My nails broke. It was chaotic. So I get it. We're not completely dressed, both of us.
Chelsea, can I ask you a question?
Always.
Sometimes I feel like I am wandering through life, but not necessarily lost.
I tend to feel that way too. Like, even though you have somewhat of your stuff kind of together, it feels like you're moving through life a bit directionless.
Yeah, exactly that.
And sometimes you get this feeling as if to remind you that you weren't meant to be moving towards something, but you can't always tell what or where it is. I've been thinking a lot about that feeling as well, Blushy. So thank you for asking that question. About this idea of the North Star. Have you ever heard that term used symbolically? Your North Star is what guides you and keeps you oriented, even after you may have failed many times, pivoted, or just stopped altogether. It's not necessarily a goal, because, goals change as you grow. It's a fixed point of light that reminds you of why, of your why, your emotional truth that makes everything you do and that you are meaningful. For a long time, I thought I knew what my North Star was. I thought it was success, graduate from your master's degree, make that feature film, get a job, make the Once Before into a TV series, get 10K followers on TikTok, finish that book, build that product, build that home for your parents to finally prove to me and the world that I was headed somewhere else. And for a while, that belief worked. It gave me something to chase. But over time, as always, the chasing starts to feel empty, like I'm drifting, because it always seemed like I knew what I want and sometimes assumed I knew where I was going. But then I found myself coming back to why. Each milestone came and went, or came and was never completed, knowing me. And I'll ask myself, is this it? Is this what all the late nights, all the plans, all the pressure, from outside pressure and inside pressure, is this all they were leading up to? Like the climax. It felt like the climax of a very poorly written movie. And I remember moments that forced me to stop, moments where I had no choice but to question my direction. When I lost my job, when I lost my client, when I got rejected over and over and over and over again by film festivals, writing competitions, when my fantasy novel, The Once Before, shifted from being a TV series pilot screenplay to a book adaptation, and the entire shape of what I was building in my head kind of like changed overnight. And, you know, when I lost people dear, very close to me, those moments felt like a massive boulder just dropped in front of me. And I was like, I lost all sense of direction each time. They stripped away the noise of my chase, yes, my wants, long enough for me to hear the question underneath. What am I really being pulled toward? My need, my why. I think that's where I want to begin today. What's your why? What's your North Star? Let's since it's Halloween, let's give let's give this wait, I need to take myself seriously. I love this. Okay, wait. Ow. Psychotic. I love it. Okay. Ow. All right. Welcome to me and my imaginary friends. I'm glad you're here. Every story ever told is guided by something, some truth. Every protagonist, every one of us, has a North Star. Something we are all unconsciously chasing, something that guides our choices, even when they, like, for example, your protagonist, when they can't see or name it, even when the protagonist is lost, even when they're making mistakes after mistakes, there's always something pulling them forward, some deep, unspoken want. Writers, we can call it the need of a character. It's the invisible thread that ties every choice together. And just like those characters, we sometimes don't see our own thread until we are already halfway into our story. Sometimes it takes heartbreak. It takes failure. It takes loss. It takes silence. Sometimes it takes losing everything we thought mattered, only to realize what actually does. And then that's when we begin to see the pattern or the theme. The moments that felt random or cruel at the start, ironically starts to make sense as to why I needed to go through that. You know that saying, the finest steel has to go through the hottest fire. So obviously the real North Star, the one in the sky called Polaris, has been used for navigation for centuries, because while other stars tend to move with the turning of the Earth, Polaris is known as the fixed star. It's always there, pointing north. Now, in Western thought, we often imagine the North Star as the fixed light in the night sky, the point of certainty, of constancy. It represents purpose or reliability, endurance, steadfastness. But there's another angle or another way to think of it, one that is closer to home. So my cousin Ogo shared a book with me that really educated me on the Igbo cosmology. It's called Lepers of the Magical Dawn, Science and the Cosmological Foundation of Igbo Culture by Nze Chukwukadibia Nwafo. The Igbo understanding of the cosmos isn't built around a single guidance star like Polaris. Instead, there's a deep belief in balance between the masculine and feminine forces and reciprocity between the cosmos and Earth. So, Pakbando, which means star, or rather stars, constellations, and just like the whole cosmic bodies, expresses dualities and cycles. So creation and return, action and rest. And then there's the 4 market days, the sacred market days: Eke, Ori, Afo, Okay. Dividing time into cycles, and then also keeping balance between the spiritual and the earthly, between the giving and the receiving. Basically, everything moves in rhythm with the next. And time in that world isn't linear, or purpose in that world isn't linear. It's cyclical. And then there's chi, the personal God or spirit that lives inside of us. It's kind of like, I would say, our inner star, a compass that aligns us towards our destiny, what I may call intuition. During one of my random doom scrolls, I came across this video of this lady talking about how to differentiate between intuition and anxiety. And they said that if it's a statement, it's intuition. If it's a question, it's probably anxiety. You live, you learn. Okay, back to chi. So the chi doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it doesn't try to confuse you, however. It's simply there to remind you. And looking at the Western symbolism of the North Star, and just like the Igbo cosmology, actually expands my knowledge, because I still believe that we have a North Star, our why, and yes, that may change as we evolve and mature, but it's still always there, just processed better each time we reach a different level of enlightenment or a different version of ourselves. But then learning about the Igbo cosmology expands on that metaphor, because while we may have our own why, one fixed external point of navigation, that singular direction symbolism is challenged, because we have, I believe, many paths we can walk if we are able to listen to all that is above, around, and within us. Your why is there somewhere. And it's okay to pause. It's okay to change direction, or like I've been saying for the last 2 years, it's okay to pivot. Pivot! You know, friends, the cow reference, pivot! Yeah. Anyways. So for me personally, I feel like I have a responsibility to nurture the relationship between my creative spirit, the cycles of my growth, and the stories that come from those lived experiences. I think we at times confuse our goals with our why. I've had so many goals in my life. Write this, make that, launch this project, finish that dream. But under all of it, there's always been one question. Why do I want to do it? Maybe to show that I could do it all. Write, direct, design, create. But if I'm being honest, I think that all came from fear of not being enough, the fear of disappearing if I didn't keep producing. When you strip away all that there is, your achievements, your title, your projects, your name, what's left? Another simple question to maybe ask yourself is, what is something people come to you for? Like, what do they come to you for? Think along those lines. Do they come to you for advice? Do they come to you for help for certain things? Do they come to you to make them laugh, to relax, to have a good time? Do they come to you for something more specific? Friends and family? Colleagues? Do they come to you because they trust you with your animals? Is it to laugh? Is it to play? I'm always down to play. Count me in. Chelsea, yes. Are we gonna play? I want to play. I want to play, please. For me, I'm a very passion over paycheck kind of girl. I strongly believe it is our duty to step fully to the thing that set us alight. Because in that we begin to start walking in our purpose. So when I typically chat with friends and family, it's always along the line of giving some form of advice about life, about work, about career, from my own experience, maybe giving them a new perspective on their own experience. Or maybe it's about notes on their writing, proofreading essays, the amount of essays I have read between all my siblings. And not just read and corrected and modified and edited. It's a lot. I could have a thick ass book. My friend Ace, actually, talking to her, and she recently asked me, when I create, do I think in terms of sales? And I didn't have to think of an answer because it was a very easy question to answer. Because for me, I think of impact. How can I provide impact to people? How can I connect with people? How do I make people feel seen and heard and understood? How do I make people feel deeply? How do I make people see the beauty in being chaotically human? How do I do that through resonant storytelling and through my creative expressions? We have a shared humanity, and I'm like, how do I express and explore this through my own unique lens? This is my why. Why? And once I was able to sit in that question of why am I doing this? Once I found it, or maybe once I stopped running away from it, everything started to make more sense. It started to align, like, oh, okay. When I create, I try to remember that, because now I know my work doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be in sync with where I am. But there's a theme. Everything I've done, the ones before, me and my imaginary friends, this podcast, the short films I've written, whether it's a story, a poem, a design, or this podcast, or conversations I've had with friends and family, they all orbit around the same pole. To remind others, including myself, that emotion, imperfection, and imagination, or play, are parts of the beautiful paradox of what makes us perfectly human. That even when things fall apart, there is still something beautiful in the breaking. Talking about breaking, I have this character in my book. His name is Ranu. He's a very morally gray character, but I love writing him because it's like you can really just like get into the mess of his personality, and it's so fun. And I don't know about you, but like when I write, I become them, or they lead me, and I just execute what they tell me to do sometimes, because they're their own people, and I'm just like, I guess, the instruments writing out their lives for them, or from their point of view. So anyways, Ranu is a very dark character, but he's also very fun to write because he has a moral compass, which is great. Always have a bad character that has a moral compass. It makes them more complex, because how can you be so bad, but you would burn the earth to save all the dogs on the planet? Like give them, we call it, save the cat or pet the dog moments. That's more of a moment, but this is more holistically who this character is. Anyways, I digress. So Ranu, he is known as the fixer by his friends, and he calls himself the fixer. He's proud of that. And so there's this moment, this scene, which I want to read for you. So context is with this girl and they're talking and she's like exploring his room and they're like things that are a lot of broken heirlooms and just things that are around his home that like broken, pieced together. And he's a collector of, I guess, things that don't work properly. So the girl says, "This one too. It is cracked," she said. Not a question, yet her tone hung in the air like one. "What?" He blinked, tearing his gaze from her brown, supple lips. Okay. He is a questionable character, guys, so just bear with me. She was staring at a bronze artifact in the corner, two maidens embossed in its surface, worn and split down one side. "Oh, that," he shrugged. "It is one of my little projects. I like broken things." He stepped in closer to her. They have a story behind them, history beyond the intention of the creator. One that is not so pleasant. He stroked her cheeks, and in that lies the real beauty. The crack, the tear, the ripple. Just enough space for me to slip in and do what I do best. "And what is that?" she asked, unflinching. "Fix it." He touched her lips, letting his finger rest there, gentle, possessive, testing. "I like to fix things. Make them good again. Different." He paused. "Better." The fractures that ran through the objects in his house gave Randall an extraordinary sense of purpose. Being born in immeasurable wealth, he had long grown dull of the shimmer of value. Where others saw scraps to discard, he beheld something far more desirable. An entry point. A path to leave his mark embedded in the restoration of what the world had given up on. To be the fixer, the hand that mended, the savior. Ooh, I love it. I love him. Well, I don't love him. I don't like him. I like creating him. I like creating all my characters, actually. Oh, he's actually not my favorite character. He just allows me to tap into, I guess, corners of weirdness that I wouldn't normally tap into. So yeah, he's a fixer. And when I was just talking about the whole things breaking and the beauty in that, it reminded me of him. And maybe that's what inspired I don't know who inspired who, whether he inspired me or I inspired him. Okay, so that was a nice little excerpt of the Once Before draft that I'm writing. Actually, I keep saying the Once Before. The first book is called In the Wake of the Bleed. Working title. So it's a series called The Once Before, but the first book in the series is called In the Wake of the Bleed.
So maybe my why isn't clear right now?
Yes, Blushy, and that's okay. Maybe you've buried it under all the things you think you should be doing. The expectations, the deadlines, the noise. Who knows?
Dang, you read me like filth.
I sure did. You're so funny, Blushy. But when you do find your North Star, it isn't something you find once, okay? It's something you return to over and over again. And it may not be something that tells you what to do next. I think it'll be there to keep reminding you or to keep you from forgetting why you started at all. You know, I'm slowly coming to learn that purpose isn't a destination because it doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it's found in the delay or in the confusion before the next step. So this is a reminder for me as well, honestly, that even in your waiting, you're still moving in your purpose.
Dang, Chelsea, you came hot today.
Thank you. But also, wow, you are very bold today. Like, you've been speaking quite boldly, Blushy. This is a new version of you.
Oh, I think it's the mustache. It's giving me some alter ego courage.
I like that. Maybe you should keep wearing mustaches. Mustache. Also, to respond to your other question, maybe your why isn't found in direction, but in devotion. Devotion seems it seems like you're reducing up. Oh, I'm devoted. When you say I'm devoted to something, it's not revered to be in devotion to something. It's more revered to be ambitious, right? It's loud. It's powerful. I have ambition. It's grand. Devotion is a lot quieter. It's a lot more. Is in submission to something. In submission to your becoming. It's in the waiting. It's in the listening. It's in the action without fully seeing. In the trusting of one's intuition, in the trusting of the unknown. Because the truth is, I don't think we have ever been truly lost. I just think that we don't know how to listen and be comfortable in the waiting or in the silence. Talking about listening or action without fully seeing. Do you know who comes to mind?
Ooh, I know. Toph Beifong from Avatar The Last Airbender, who you're cosplaying right now.
Yes, Blushy. Yes. I love you. Okay. Toph Beifong. Yes. I mean, I figured if I'm going to talk about direction, I might as well dress as the girl who found hers without ever having to use her eyes. She's always been one of my favorite characters. She is so badass and so tiny and so strong. Oh, do you know that apparently they were meant to, Toph was actually designed to be like this burly big guy and ended up being her. And it's just like the most perfect decisions. One of the most perfect decisions the creators ever made, I think. But to anyone that doesn't know who she is blind. Again, if I had my contacts on, it would make more sense. But there's a reason why probably I don't have it on. I probably wouldn't have seen anything here. So she's blind, but she's like a really good earthbender. And she does it by listening to the earth. She feels her way through the world, through the vibration and the rhythm and instinct. I think instinct is a big one there because she trusts what she feels and she acts in it. And it's like always so spot on. Toph doesn't need sight to know where she is going. She just needs to trust what she feels. She moves only when she senses the earth vibrate beneath her feet. And I think she's really like a great depiction of what trusting in one's intuition or in oneself really looks like. When I think about it, Toph, her entire story is about grounding and about learning to trust, again, what you feel, even when the path ahead of you is unclear, when you can't see it. She can't literally see, but she's so good. Oh my God. And I think what makes her good. So talking about the ones before again, I am jumping from project to project, but I feel like everything just converged. Like when I'm speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, that. There's a character, EC, who really doesn't trust himself at all. And he has, I mean, to the outside world an affliction, but really it's not an affliction. It's just they're when you don't know something, you just assume it's a bad thing. That's what is going on here. But the mom is trying to tell him, like, you are going to be so great. not in spite of your difference, but because of it. Ayaba, my character, says this to her son, Isi. And I remember writing that line and I'm just like, I had to sit with it for a moment because it's so true. We are all so uniquely different. And we are great. Not in spite of it, but because of it. Anyways, Toph teaches Aang how to earthbend, and the art of being still until you know exactly when to strike or attack, and that's patience. He's basically teaching you how to be patient. And also that's awareness. And Toph's parents saw her as fragile and small and delicate and someone that needed protection. But she proved them wrong by grounding herself in who she really was, by listening to what no one else heard or could hear. By trusting her own rhythm when the world doubted her strength. And that, to me, is what the North Star really represents. Not the knowing or the perfection or the certainty, but the trust in the unknown. Trusting that even when you can't see the light, you can still feel your way through and hopefully forward. Trusting that your intuition, your own intuition, your chi, your grounded truth, your moral compass, you are enough that's enough to guide you. Because your North Star doesn't have to be this gleaming bright light in the sky that is so clear that you're like, there it is, bingo. It's not above you. I think it's within you. It's beneath you. It's in contact with you. Not physically, but vibrationally. Is that a word? Vibrationally. If it's not, it should be a word. Sometimes you just have to stand still enough to feel it.
Chelsea, in the spirit of Halloween, can you share us a story you've written that is creepy or something that we can learn from still?
Okay, yeah, let me do that. That's a good idea. Okay, so I know a story. Firefly. That's going to be the story. It's a short story I wrote for a writing competition, actually with my writing group, and then subsequently for another writing competition. Okay, it's called Firefly. Here goes. My limbs were frozen. Wait, I need flickering lights. This is Halloween season, so I have an idea.
Cue the music.
My limbs were frozen, calcified into stone. All I could do was blink, and each blink lured it closer, the dark figure that undulated in the corner. It held me bound by a blanket of darkness. My eyes strained for shape, but none came. Just a formless mass, caked in blackened smoke, inching closer every time my eyes quivered. The hairs on my skin pierced the sheets that encased me like a tomb. I blinked and blinked, watching like a distant observer as my final moments drew close. It swept the air around me, nearer now, close enough to see through it like coal smoke, close enough to open its mouth wide and consume me whole. I drowned while falling, suffocating as my weighted body plummeted to the depths of his belly. I was burning, yet cold, hot from fear, wet with sweat. Pain wore me like an armor as what remained of my rock-solid soul smashed against the obsidian floors of some internal abyss. I splintered into fragments, each piece of me flying toward unseen crevices that lined the dark. I became nothing. I opened my eyes, and it was nighttime again. The breeze drifted through my open window, my limbs frozen, calcified. Night after night, I danced the same torment, slipping into slumber, my sole reprieve, only to be pulled awake and held captive. Again, in my own bed, by this thing, creeping closer, as I did the only thing I could do, prolong the inevitable. Tears tickled my ears as my eyes surrendered to the burn of another blink. I wanted to scream, but it stole the sound from my unmoving tongue. It mimicked my cries. It begged me to stop. It called me the devil. My frantic eyes searched for help, anything to unbind me from this hold. A faint buzz. Outside. Something new. I tore my watery gaze from the thing, toward the sound. A small yellow flicker danced by my window. A firefly, begging to come in. I hoped it would. They say darkness dies when light comes. I prayed its wings would flap up and through. I smiled beneath frozen lips as the tiny shimmer slipped inside. The thing stood still, mere inches from me, waiting for my eyelids to submit to nature's demand one last time. But my savior, the firefly, floated toward the thing, into it. I allowed for a final blink, for surely darkness dies when light comes. Light bloomed, bursting into yellow shards. Then it was gone. Not the thing, the light. The thing remained. Clearer now. Its form resembled a face I knew, a face I had always known. The thing. It was me. My heart raced, my blinks turned frantic. It loomed over me. I loomed over me. As I was consumed, I didn't fall. I didn't drown. I was neither hot nor wet. No, my limbs broke free, unshackled by the clarity that struck like lightning. It was I who haunted me, as once past stalks once present, as once hands shape one's future, as once choices taints one's soul. That truth, now illuminated before me by my savior, the firefly. Flashy, what do you think?
Ooh, that was so creepy, so good. Oh my word, I am lost for words. Tell me, what inspired that?
Thank you, Flashy. You're always my number one fan. I love you for that. To suffer, as we all know, is innately human. And oftentimes when we face suffering, when fear, doubt, and pain surface, their roots trace back to a former version of ourselves. It's as if a mirror appears, forcing us to see that most of our fear or the things that we run from are reflections of our past or present choices. I've discovered that clarity doesn't always arrive in grand revelations. Sometimes it can emerge from seemingly insignificant moments or ordinary moments. A word spoken by a random stranger, the rereading of an old journal, being fired from a job, losing a client, going for a walk and seeing the color blue. Whatever the catalyst is, its purpose is to help us see beyond the fog in our eyes and to take accountability, hopefully, and to free ourselves from the torture that our mind creates so that we can finally see our North Star. Trust your intuition. You can finally trust your intuition. Regret is a dark room that our minds lock us into, making us believe that there is no escape. And our narrator in The Firefly is in this vicious cycle of sleep paralysis until his savior, the Firefly, unshackles him. Not by offering a key to an imaginary room, but to reveal that there were never any walls to begin with. What if the light that enters your life isn't meant to erase the darkness, but illuminate it so that the true healing can finally begin? I feel like you guys can see the themes of what I talk about here. Because in that, we finally walk the line of our purpose, be guided by our North Star.
Ooh, I noticed something, that the term Firefly and North Star all points to the same language of light illuminating something.
Yes, it's all points to the same visual language. You are very right, Blushy. Thanks for noting that. The truth is, your why will not appear until you face yourself. For me, that's what writing did. It was my Firefly that helped me face myself. For you, it might be something entirely different, but you'll know it when you feel it. So just trust yourself. There it is.
What? Where?
That's what it'll sound like when one of you finds it. That's from, I don't know if you guys have seen the episode where Toph, they're looking for the library in this like deserty place, and she's like, there it is, knowing that she can't see, obviously, and Katara and Sokka like, where? She's like, well, that's what's gonna sound like when one of you finds it, because duh, I can't see. Anyways, I hope that this podcast, me and my imaginary friends, can be a firefly for someone out there. Maybe even you, somehow. In some way. You are the conductor of your own life. Turn your back on the audience. And I'll always leave you with this question. What story are you telling the world today? And more importantly, what story are you telling yourself? Thank you for spending time with me and my imaginary friends. Until the next episode, happy Halloween and good morning.
Good morning.